Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Leaks Rod and Customs. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining us, or if you've been here before, thanks for sticking with us. So, as you may know, we got the Chevette going on here. Right now, I got the 460 sitting on the floor, waiting to go on the stand. She just pushed off into the corner right now. Got everything put on top of it, just sitting here waiting to get work done. But we're gonna get back on patches. Finally gonna get started back on that. Done a little bit of work as I have time, not very much. Didn't record any of it. We have a transmission sitting in here along with the 1.6 liter little tiny engine out of the Chevette. So I took the radiator core support out so I could stab this thing in here and see what kind of room we were dealing with, see where the shifter would mount, all that fun jazz. Looks like we're gonna have plenty of room, so we'll go ahead and get this mounted. I got engine mounts on order. One of the ones out of the Chevette was ripped, so we couldn't use them, so I just decided to order new ones. They were really dirt cheap. Got them off of Rock Auto for just a couple bucks a piece. Most of the stuff to rebuild this engine is going to be dirt cheap, so that's a good thing. Go ahead and try and get this engine rebuilt as best we can. That way we can just go and put a little bit of power behind it and see if it sticks. I don't know if I showed you this before or not, but we got nice turbo here it's off of a Cummins, but I don't have a wastegate or anything for it. It is just a turbo, something somebody else had used on a Slant 6 project that they were working on. So they had it as a draw through, so I don't know the condition of that turbo too much, but we're gonna go ahead and possibly use that one. Otherwise we'll just use it for mock-up and get one off of eBay or Amazon or something, some dirt cheap thing. Besides that, haven't really done much. Everything is still piled up here. Been super busy with kids running here and there. The wheels that were on the Thunder Chicken just sitting on the front of patches right now. My wife doesn't like the look of it, so we're gonna end up taking them off, putting something else on there, probably something pretty basic. So basically right now we're down to getting the engine in its place, getting it mounted. But like I said, I gotta wait for the engine mounts, so we're probably gonna work on something else. I want to get this engine at least sitting in here somehow so that I can get the hoist off and get that 460 over there on the stand, get that tore apart so I can figure out what happened, if I blew a head gasket or if we got something else going on that the block's no good or what have you. So we'll get that figured out. Then we got to get this interior all cleaned out, take it all out. We have a nice mouse nest in the back, if you guys can see that. I don't know if you can see it through there, but there's nice fun jazz in there. I don't feel like dealing with that too much, but we got to deal with it at some point. Might as well do it soon. I got to strip this full interior out and get ready for pulling the rear end. Put a 4-link in. I've been looking at ways to upgrade the front brakes because the front brakes in this thing just suck. And I want to make this a track car. It's going to go fast, hopefully. So we're going to end up making a lot of room in here anyway, cutting the firewall back so we can get that behemoth in here. And as you can see right now, the engine mount right there is tore. This one's in good shape. Good enough shape, I guess. But I just went ahead and ordered a couple of them, being they're so dirt cheap. So we'll get working on this here soon again. The wiring is completely hashed in this thing from the mice, so it won't take much. We'll just completely strip it down. My wife does want to make this a driver, a street legal driver. So even though I want to use it on the track, we still do have a title for it, and we can drive it on the street as long as we can make it work that way. So a lot of the stuff's coming out and making room for a lot more power. I believe the engine that was in here that's going in patches is about in between 75 and 80 horse. Nothing major. That's why we're going to put a little bit of power behind it with the turbo. Hopefully. The 460 here, that should be in the neighborhood of 3 to 350 ballpark, give or take. And that's just the way it sits right now. Once we throw a little bit more power at it, we're hoping to get maybe 500-600. Once I'm actually in it a little hotter, then we're looking at hopefully 1,000 to 1,500. But that takes a built tranny and a lot more other stuff as well to go along with it. So we're getting there. We'll get to it and we'll get it done. Hopefully we'll be at least driving it down the track next year. And like I said, patches, that should be going to back to the 50s. Should be able to have that done by then. There's not a whole lot of extreme things to do. Right now I do have the cab sitting on a couple sticks of 2x1 tubing to raise it up a little higher. Makes clearance in the front better. I do have to do a little bit of trimming to get that to sit in there right. We'll get that all taken care of. Get the one leaf spring hanger in the back fixed. Get the back end lowered a little bit. Work on the front suspension. The torsion bars, the bolts are bent for it to lower them, so we'll get that adjusted and fixed. And make it a driver. Get the wiring done. See what we can do. As long as I can make it drivable, street legal, get a title for it, we'll be back to the 50s. That should happen without much of an issue, especially having a frame, being able to have all the suspension ready to go. That's going to make it a lot easier. I'm not worried about mounting the box right now. The cab's almost done. The box isn't going to take much. And then patching the body together, that's not going to take much. It's all the expensive things that are going to be involved. Actually, it's a two-piece windshield with a seam in the center instead of the floating windshield because the mechanism's gone. That's like $500 for that. And we got wheels, tires, got to update the brakes because they have been sitting for a while, so they probably need new calipers, rotors, pads, that type of stuff. Steering U-joints, all that stuff. That's the expensive stuff. When you add up all the gauges, all that stuff costs a lot of money when you're building cars. By the time you're done, it's not as cheap as you thought it was going to be. If you're going to have decent connections, you got weather pack connectors. They're not cheap. And I'm stingy. I go to eBay for almost everything. I've been using Amazon a little bit more, but majority of it goes on eBay. When I can't find it on eBay, or if I find it on eBay through Summit or Jegs, I would rather order it through Summit or Jegs than eBay. So the majority of the stuff, even though it's not US based, I order through eBay just because I'm cheap. If it goes on somebody else's vehicle and they want to order Summit or they want to order Jegs or whoever, great. I have no problem installing it. I have no problem installing it on my own stuff. I just can't afford it. So the reality of it, we're going to get this done. However we got to do it. I got to figure out ignition yet for it because the distributor, apparently there's a computer on the Chevette that runs the timing on this, and I don't feel like using that. I think we'll upgrade to something else. I don't know if an MSD is going to be good for that or if we'll just go with like a Mega Squirt and in preparation for fuel injection. Don't know if that pays. I mean, it's just a tiny little piddly engine, but I don't know how well that head's going to hold up with a little bit of boost behind it. We're about to find out. Maybe 7-8 pounds will be fine. Maybe we'll go a little bit more. It's hard to say right now. Might just try carbureted, rebuild the original carburetor, make a box for it, and see how that works. But nonetheless, we're going to get her done. We're going to get working on it. Got a few pieces of steel sitting outside that I can start making some engine mounts for, but a lot of it I can't do until I get those engine mounts. So they're supposed to be here by the end of the week. So as long as they're here, we'll go ahead and get this thing mounted up, Get the transmission in place, mount it up. I could probably do a transmission mount tonight for it, actually. I'll have to see how everything goes. The radiator support, we're having an issue going down far enough, so I took and cut that. Well, I just forgot what I was saying because my daughter just barged in here, but that's okay. I gotta make time for kids too. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get this going. See if we can get the engine somewhat mounted where we need it. We're not gonna have any issue with steering clearance on this one. So, we'll go ahead and get the rack back in place. Oh, the radiator core support. I cut the bottom of it off. The reason I did that is so that it would be able to move down far enough and I wouldn't have to raise the cab too much. So once I get this all back together, I will figure out a way to mount that core support to the frame. I'm not too worried about it. And the little itty bitty tiny radiator sitting there is the one off the Chevette, so we'll go ahead and mount that in there as well. Get that all figured out. So it's an awful lot smaller than the one that was in the Thunder Chicken. So we'll get that done and we'll get moving. Yeah, sounds good. Stick around. Hopefully we'll have some fun. All right, come join me here with Patches. So here's where we're sitting with Patches. See, the transmission right now is just a little bit higher than I want. Not much, just a little bit. I can actually probably make it work, just fine right there. The back of the engine, you see, is really fairly close to the firewall. So that's okay. That's good. I want as much front room as I can. It's just a little engine. All right, so let's join me underneath here and we'll get started on this. Show you what I got going on. All right, sorry if the lighting's not the greatest. All right, so you can see there's the outlet for the fuel tank, which is getting removed anyway, but completely rusted through. So nothing really major to worry about there. Changing hands here, sorry. All right, so where the transmission's sitting here looks about decent. You can see right down here is a single stud to mount the transmission to. We are about top of the bottom frame rail for height on that stud right now, which is okay. We're probably gonna mount underneath right here where the, excuse me, drawing a blank, the skid plate for the transfer case was bolted. We're probably gonna try to mount to that and then bring it around on both sides and get it lined up on that stud. So one of the first things we're gonna do is measure across the frame rails, see how wide we're sitting. And from there, we will get the center of the transmission output shaft right here. We'll get that in the center of the vehicle and get it in the right place so that we don't have to worry about it being offset. The rear end in here is offset, and that's okay. You don't want to have your drive shaft straight anyway. You want it offset. Otherwise, you're going to have driveline vibration horrible. I'll probably end up having it horrible anyway because I'm most likely going to end up just making a drive shaft because I'm too cheap to pay for one, at least right away. I know it's going to take out stuff, but we'll have to see how it works. Made a couple before and haven't had any major issues, so I'll just have to see. So we're going to go ahead and measure across the frame rails here, figure out where we need to be. This, I don't know if it's a counterweight or what it is, but I'll end up taking that off. This bracket right here will come off. There's no need for that on here. Not for me anyway. So you can see right now our clearance, our oil pan is above the suspension cross member there, so not gonna have to worry about hitting anything if this thing gets slammed on the ground. We might drop the transmission just a little bit and get that pad in the right place for when I get a floor in here. I'll probably end up making that in the next couple months. I got to run up and get some steel and get the bead roller out, and then we'll make a new floor pan transmission tunnel for it. Get that out of the way. So right now, if you remember, if you saw the video before when I had the mod motors in here, I had a piece of 1x2 tubing that I cut and moved across. Well, I'm just going to take that and put that in place here. So this is in the center of the transmission. Sorry if my camera work is bad. That is placed in the center of the transmission from what I'm seeing here. I'll double check and make sure that's exactly center with the output shaft. If that's the case, when I measure across the frame rails here, I will go ahead and drill my hole in my 1x2 right in the center here, and then I'll have placement there, and then I just gotta make my mounts on the side of the frame. Not gonna be anything fancy, but it should be functional, and that is the main ticket right now. Just making everything functional. All these lines, they're all gonna get replaced. Everything's coming off. There's no point in keeping any of this stuff. It's all rusted bad. So we'll take all the electrical, redo it all. There's a bent suspension torsion bar bolt that I was talking about. Gotta try and straighten that out, replace that if I can get it out. I sure hope I can. So we'll get moving here and make this cross member and see what we can do. Alright, so here's where we're at. The transmission mount, the original one off the Chevette, I actually still had the cross member and everything. It had the mount on it. So we went ahead and took and cut that up. I know it doesn't look the best right now, sorry. It's pretty much just mostly half-ass welded in there. Excuse the language. But it is in there. So you can see I got the original in transmission mount off the Chevette, and I cut the cross member and just went off the transmission mount that was originally on the Ranger. So I can unbolt that from the torsion bar mounts and drop it without much of a problem. I do have to clearance a little bit on the pipe there. Sorry for the lighting. For the transmission, and that's okay. I had the engine up a little bit higher than it needed to be when I had mounted it. Now we're actually fairly right where I believe we need to be. We might have to go up a little bit higher yet, but it's pretty much where it needs to be. The angle is real close to where it needs to be as well. Side to side, we're off just a little bit, but it's not fully welded yet. We'll get there. It's at least in place. Took me a little bit to get the welder, so I wasn't burning through. But we're there. Transmission is pretty much mounted. So we're getting there. We're moving. So we got the engine in here. Like I said, we're waiting on the engine mounts for this so we can get that squared up and in place, and then I can get the engine hoist out of the way, and we can go ahead and get the steering all taken care of, get this thing all buttoned up, and keep moving on it. So I know I didn't show much of me doing anything on this one. I apologize for that, but it's in place. There was a lot tonight that I was busy doing, helping my kids and whatnot. So, and if you all have kids, you know kids are the most important thing. So, got the transmission in. We'll just keep moving. Don't know if I'll do any more tonight on it or not, but we'll have to see. I do know that I need to go get a few things, so I'll probably just head out and get a few things and call it a night. Didn't spend a whole lot of time on here, but at least I got to spend some time. So if you want to see something, let me know. If you want me to keep recording while I'm working, that's fine. Let me know. Post it in the comments. I'll keep doing it. I have no problem with that. Remember, this is my truck, mine and my wife's. So the detail that I'm putting into this truck is minimal. It's a budget build. There's nothing spectacular about this truck. It's going to be a driver. It's just going to be something that we can cruise around in. Yeah, I want to put a turbo on it. I want a little bit more power. It's a 4-cylinder. It's nothing much. The original one was a inline 6, so it's not as much power as the original engine had. Gearing is different in this one. I don't know what the factory gears were in the Chevy pickup originally. I don't know what the gears are in here right now, but I'm pretty sure that's an 8.8 back there. So I got 373 gears sitting here if I want to put gears in it. That'll definitely make this little 4-cylinder wind up, but you know, it is what it is. It's not a fancy build. Hopefully I'll show you soon the rest of that 51 that I had previous on here. I'm gonna redo the brake lines on it. I'm not happy with the way they turned out, so we'll be over there at his shop putting them in, and while we're over there I'll show you the 68 Camaro I built for him along with the 81 Camaro I built for him. Them were both real nice builds. They turned out fairly good. So we'll go ahead and show you what I can do. And you know, truth of the matter, love building cars. That's just the way it is. So once we get going, hopefully we'll have time and we'll get more builds going on in here. We'll get the patches here done on the road, and at the same time we'll work on the vet project and see about getting that to the strip. Be able to drive it on the strip and down the road. That one's going to be an expensive project too, though, with having to get a bender, the bars, rear axle, get the engine taken care of here. I have a lot of the little knick-knack stuff that's sitting all up there, but this will end up being an expensive build too, because tires, wheels, axles, brakes, front end brakes, tubing for the roll cage, everything. But hopefully we'll get it done. If we don't end up getting a cage in there this winter, it's at least going to be drivable one way or another. The main things I guess to get are going to be like a 4-link kit, coilovers, wheels, tires, and put some strength into it at least. I want to try and do chromoly right away because it's probably going to be, I want it to be a sub 850 car. My wife probably doesn't want that, but I would like that. I don't know if I want to spend the money on mild steel and then go ahead and cut it all out and go chromoly. But it's hard. It's difficult. I haven't seen a whole lot of these cars sub 10s. And I just don't know if people don't want to spend the money on them. They're a small car. There's nothing to it. It's less than, right now with the engine out, it's less than 2,000 pounds. With the engine in, full weight, curb weight's like 2,050 pounds on this car. So it's not much. By the time I strip out the interior, gut it completely, and throw a big block in there, I might be looking at 2,300 pounds with the cage. I'm hoping it's gonna be light, because I mean the glass too, that's all gonna be tore apart and tore down, put in Lexan. There's no need to have heavy thick glass on here. It's gonna keep the original windshield, but back glass, all the door glass, that'll all go to Lexan. So by the time I'm done, I'm hoping to be under 2,200, 2,300 pounds on this car. So if that's the case, this thing should move with 700 horse, as long as I got it geared right. So yeah, stay tuned. Please like and comment, comment, subscribe, all the above. Keep watching. It's going to be fun, hopefully. You got quite a bit of the winter left. It's just starting. It's a possibility of snow tonight. We got a long way to go on these. Hope in April we'll get these done. At least be able to drive them. So, if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.